Hi, my name is Michael Clausen, and I am the self-appointed Chief Fish of Big Fish Creations. We're a multimedia advertising company that's been in the industry for about 15 years, and we specialize in branding small and large clients. One of the things I'm going to show you today is Adobe Muse. This is a beta software that is actually targeted to the non-coder, meaning that if you are familiar with code, you will probably look at this program and go, okay, what's next? If you have never designed a web page, if you're a print designer, or if you've worked in programs like Adobe Illustrator, Muse will give you the opportunity to actually build a fairly straightforward website and add different types of functionality that you would have to achieve with coding knowledge. So let's get started. Hi, my name is Michael Clausen, and I'm going to show you how to build a website in Adobe Muse. First thing you want to do is launch Muse, and you'll be presented with this dialog. We're going to go ahead and choose Create New Site. I am also going to use the default settings of Muse, so we'll go ahead and say that. Now, here's my Muse Design desktop. Typically, there's a couple approaches that you can do. You can design your pages up in the desktop first, or you can design your master page. And this is what we're going to start with first, is we're going to design a master page that will put the design throughout our web pages. So let's go ahead and double click on our master page. We have a default setting here of the gray browser fill. Obviously, we don't want that. So we're going to go ahead and choose a background and place that in there. Now what I've done is I've prepared some graphics ahead of time in Adobe Fireworks. And I'm looking for a background file here. And that's the one that I'm looking for. And so I'm going to go ahead and place that into the Muse desktop. Now, as I'm telling Muse what to do with this background, I'm going to go ahead and tell it to tile it horizontally. We're going to go ahead and start from the left, so the background will move from the left to right. And I'm going to actually turn off the scrolling, so the background will be fixed onto the page. Now the last thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and sample a custom color in my background, which is going to be the bottom color right here, right about there. I'm going to go ahead and sample that, and I'm going to add that to my Muse palette. And this will create a very dynamic looking background. So let's go ahead and preview this. Muse has a built-in preview that I can view my website as it goes, and that's what it looks like as it's going so far. So let's go back into our design mode, and what I want to do is I want to add a header graphic to my page, and I'm going to go ahead and use my place command. If you've used Adobe InDesign, you'll be find that it's very familiar how it interfaces. I'm going to go ahead and hit a place. And again, I'm going to find a graphic that I've already created in Adobe Fireworks, and I'm going to go ahead and place that. What I'm looking for is I'm looking for my logo file, and there it is. And I'm going to go ahead and place it on the top of my page, roughly about right there. Now, one thing I notice is I need a little bit more room for my logo to fill the top of my page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my slider, which is the top of the page slider, and I'm going to move that down to about right about there. And I will take my logo and I'm going to touch it about right there. So now I've already resized that page. Let's go ahead and hit a preview, and looking good so far. Let's go back to our design. What I want to do now is I want to add a graphic to my page area. This is my white area. I want to add a background graphic to that, similar to how I did with my browser fill. I'm going to go ahead and grab my page fill option, open that up. I'm going to have a very similar dialog, and I'm going to grab my page graphic, which is that one right there. I'm going to go ahead and select that, center it, and in this case it's not going to tile, it's just going to fill the page, and I want it to appear on the top of my page, and the page color is still going to be white. So looking good so far. The last thing I want to do is I want to add a footer element. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple things to my footer element. The first thing I want to do is I want to create a rounded corner effect on my page. I'm going to go to my corners, and I'm going to turn on rounded corners just on the bottom part of my page. And I'm going to pop that up to about 20 pixels, like so. Now I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw a rectangle on the bottom of my page, roughly even to the bottom, about like so. And I'm going to turn the rounded corners similarly there up to 20 pixels, like so. Take off my fill, and let's have a preview and see what that looks like. Whoop! A little error here. I've stretched this out. One of the things that Muse will allow me to do is it will give me a guide, so as I'm going to the edge of the page, it's going to line it right up to the edge of the page there, and right up there. So now let's go back and hit preview. Good to go. A few more things I want to do to this footer now is I want to select it, and I'm going to drop a color on it, and we'll just go with this nice tan color. And then I'm going to also click away here, and I want to add a shadow effect on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the shadow on, and I'm going to make sure it's about a 90 degree angle and a distance of about 5. So let's go ahead and preview this. Looking good so far. So now let's go back in and create a menu. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go to the objects, and we're going to insert a menu, and we're going to use the menu bar option, and it's going to drop by default a single button here. And we're going to take this and we're going to stretch this out to about right like that, and pull it out to about right there, like so. We have a giant button. Now what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to define the look and feel of this button. So the couple things I can do, the actual fill itself, I'll go in and apply a style to that, and let's go with a tan and maybe somewhat kind of like this. And so we have a gradient fill, and this is our state. If we go look at the button state, when we're looking at the different states, we're going to click on our state menu right here, and this is the normal state that my button is going to display. Now I'm going to click on my rollover, and you see it has the default. So now I'm going to change that, and we'll go ahead and apply a kind of a little bit different feel on our rollover. Let's go with something like so. So we have our normal state, and then we have our rollover state. Now Muse also offers 2 additional states: a mouse down state, so that's when the mouse is selected, and an active state, so when you're actually on the page. So I'm going to go ahead and stylize those. Same kind of feel. And this mouse down, let's add a little bit darker feel to that. Oops, let's go back here. I want to select my second gradient box, and we'll put a little bit darker feel on that. And then my active state will be when my button is on the page that I'm on. So we'll go back and we'll put kind of the similar kind of feel, and why don't we put a green hint to it. Okay, so now the other thing that I want to do is I want to change the size of my font, and let's click out of here actually, and we're going to select our font on our overstate, like so, and I'm going to click on my text, and I'm going to pop this up a little bit. Not too big, but not too small. Roughly about right there. And that kind of gives us a good feel of that. And we'll see that it crosses over to all of our different states as we go. So far, let's preview this and let's see what happens. Muse again is going to give us an idea. There's our hover state, changes color. Here's our mouse down state, I'm clicking on it. And then if we are on the home page, which we are, now there is our home state. Or actually our active state. One more thing that I want to do is I want to take my buttons, select it, and I'm going to add a transparency fill to it. I'm going to go ahead and click down the transparency here to roughly 80%. And go ahead and take those. And then I'm going to take my logo and I want to make sure that I bring it to the front. So I'm going to go to my Objects menu and I'm going to say Bring to Front. So it's going to overlay over the top of my buttons. Go ahead and we'll preview this. And here's what we have so far. Now I'm going to go to my plan view and I'm going to start adding my pages, and Muse will build those buttons for me automatically now that I've called them out in my master page. So we're going to keep the default home, and we're going to go ahead and add a separate next page and call this About Our Service. And we're going to go ahead and add another page by clicking our plus, and we're going to call this Sample Menu. And we're going to go add a last page here and we'll call this Contact. Now when we hit preview, what you'll see is Muse has now created my button states, and since I've adjusted it to fit the width of it, it will automatically constrain the width according to the way I want. Just like that. I'm going to have a little bit of fun. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my home page and I'm going to open that up and I'm going to insert a slideshow. So I'm going to go to my Objects menu, go ahead and choose Basic Slideshow and place that right into the area. And what Muse does is it'll populate the slideshow with some default objects, default images, and so we're going to go ahead and we're going to delete those images. So we want to select inside there and go ahead and delete. And what the trick is, you want to just click right inside there to make sure you're selecting the image. Kind of double click, and that sets the image up to basically have no images now on the slideshow. Now the other thing that I want to do is I want to go ahead and adjust the size of my slideshow. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust it roughly to about 565 pixels, 566, right around there, and to about 233, because that's about the same size as what I've got going in my Fireworks document where my slides are being processed. And I'm going to go ahead and center that, and I'm going to take my fill and make sure that my fill is set to none, so I don't have anything on the background. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go over into Fireworks and show you how I've kind of prepared these images. What I've done in Fireworks is I've created a series of slides, because I have 3 slideshows actually I'm going to throw on the page in the Muse for the design. And I've got some large slides, I've got some small slides that go to the left and small slides that go to the right. And what I've done in Fireworks is I've gone ahead and created pages for each one of those slides, and in the pages I've created layers, and I've numbered each slide accordingly. So 1, 2, 3, 4 for the large, and click over to the left, we have 3 slides I think for each one, left and the right. I have set the optimization for JPEG about 80% quality, and what I'm going to have Fireworks do is I just go in and I do an export, and for each one of my pages I'm exporting each one of my slides out into a folder. In this case it's going into the left slides, and it automatically copies that optimization very conveniently, so I can kind of batch process my slides. Now if I pop back into Muse, I'm going to go ahead and add those slides to my top slideshow, and I'm going to go ahead and click my Add Images, and I'm going to find my top slide folder, which is selected, and I'm going to go ahead and grab all those slides. You can see it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to add those to my slideshow. One last thing that I want to do is I want the slideshow to basically automatically loop, and so I'm going to turn off all my other options that Muse has on default: preview, previous slide, next slide, captions, and the counter. So I'm turning all of these off, and I'm going to go in and add a stroke to my slide. So I'm going to add about 4 on my stroke. So let's go ahead and preview this and see what we got. So now Muse is going to go through and it's going to show each one of my slides automatically. It's writing the jQuery for me. I don't have to worry about coding or anything, and it's popping through, and I've kind of got a nice little effect going on. So now we're going to add the other two different slideshows, and we're going to put those right in the bottom. So the same kind of thing. I'm going to go into my object mode, and I'm going to go insert slideshow, basic, and I'm going to pop that down to about right there. Now what you notice is Muse is automatically moving my page down because it senses that I have an object there, and in this case it's my left slideshow. So same kind of thing. I'm going to go in and I'm going to select my default pictures, and I'm going to clear those out. So I have a basic look here. I'm going to clear out my fill. Whoops. Clear out my fill. And I'm going to adjust this slide down to roughly about there. And same kind of thing, I'm going to go ahead and populate my left slides. I'm going to go find where my left slides are, and there they are, and go grab those and insert those. I'm going to take off my preview, my next, all my different options that are all set up. Muse is automatically adjusting for that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this autoplay to a different speed. So we're gonna have this go on slow speed. We can adjust that. The default that I had this set on was actually for a medium speed. And the one last thing that I want to do to this slideshow here is I want to go ahead and add a little bit of a fill, or add a little bit of a stroke on that. We'll just go with about 3. And we'll adjust this down. Oops. So it crops right into where the photo is going to go, roughly about right there. Perfect. Okay. And let's get a preview and see where we're at. Again, Muse is going to give me a preview of what it sees on the screen, and it's going to rotate these slides accordingly. And let's go ahead and build our last one. Now what I can do with this one is I can go ahead and hold my Option key down, and I can duplicate this slideshow, and we're going to put it roughly so it's about right there. And now I'm going to do the same kind of thing that I did with the previous one, where I click in my field here. One other thing that I want to do is I want to turn these buttons on here. This is a little trick. And it's going to allow me then to select those images, and I'm just going to clear those images out. So so I am done. Basically, I've cleared all of my images out. I'm going to go back, turn these options off, and now I'm going to go add my slides that are on the right side and populate those. And we're going to have this play the same speed. It's going to be slow. So let's take a preview of this. And there we go. We have slides all over the place. And now let's add some text. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up to our menu up here and grab our type tool, and we're going to draw a text box roughly there. And I'm going to grab my pointer, and I'm going to move my text box right underneath my slideshow mania, and I'm going to stretch this text box out to about right there. Now you notice that what Muse has given me is a smart guide, so it's going to line up my text box with my graphic elements. I'm going to go in and grab some text that I have prepared for this presentation, and I'm going to go ahead and paste that text using my text tool right into that area that I've called out. Now what I want to do is I want to stylize my text here. So what I'm going to first do is I'm going to grab this text right here, and I'm going to choose something other than Arial. We'll go with some web safe fonts here. We'll just use that for now and call out Century Gothic, and I'm going to pop this up to roughly 20 points. I'm going to bold it and we're going to center it. Now once that I've called this font out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save this as a character style, and I'm going to go call this HD text. Whoops. There we go. So now every time I want to apply that, I can go ahead and just choose the HD text. Now I'm going to do the same thing with my text right here. I'm going to go ahead and select that. Whoops. Select this with my mouse and choose the Century. And going to go ahead and pop this up to roughly about 16 points. I'm also going to add a little bit of line spacing, leading. Just kind of something visual like so. And I'm going to also change the color slightly. I'm just going to pop this down to kind of a little bit lighter color, olivey kind of looking thing. And going to go ahead and save this also as a style. And we're going to call this body text. So again, we're going to go ahead and preview this and see where we're at. These will go ahead and draw my side out, and there is my text. Great. Okay, now we're going to build the rest of our pages. So we're going to go into our About or Services page, and we're going to open that up and go ahead and place another image there under our File menu. And I'm going to go ahead and grab on my top slides, I'm going to grab my second slide and place that roughly about there. And I'm going to add a stroke of about 4 points. Then I'm going to go back over to my front page and go ahead and grab my text box here. I'm going to copy that and pop on over into back to my service page, and I'm going to do a paste in place. So it essentially is going to line it up accordingly, and I'm just going to bring that close to the top here, roughly about there. Want to go, and now that I have these elements here, I'm going to go and grab my copy tool again and go back into my plan and do paste in place. And go back into my contact page and do paste in place. So essentially I'm lining up my images that I want, lining up my layout that I want, and then I'm going to populate it accordingly with the right data. For example, I'm going to now go grab my copy and for my About page, and I'm going to place that right into my text field here. And we'll select our text and make sure that we're using our body text style. And we'll call this About Dish Up. And choose our head text and make sure that that's also centered. Go back to our plan, go into our menu, and we have a sample menu here. So we'll go ahead and grab our menu selection here. Hit copy, paste, and we're going to turn this into our header text, center it, and we're going to select this and use our body text. Make sure that's all selected as well. I'm going to hit a couple extra hard returns here. And what I'm looking at is I notice that I want to put a little bit more spacing in between here. So now what I'm going to go do is I'm going to add a little bit more spacing in between my menu items. And I'm also going to add a little bit of spacing before the paragraph item. So now that I've done that, then I want to go and I want to create a new character style so it doesn't overwrite my existing body style, and I'll just call this menu text. So now I have a separate text style that I've assigned to my menu text, a little bit different than the other one. Go back to my contact page and I'm going to grab my contact information. I'm going to go ahead and grab our text tool so we can select our text in there and hit paste. Set it up to where our body text is styled that out. And we'll just add a header to this. Actually, we'll just call this contact us, and we'll put this in our head text and center it. So now we pretty much have our website outlined and built. One other thing that we do want to add to it is a footer address. So how we add our footer address is we're going to go ahead and click on our master page, and we're going to go call out a text box here, roughly there. Let's stretch this out just a bit so we have some room. And we're going to go ahead and grab our footer text, and we'll go ahead and copy that to the clipboard, and then go back and grab our text tool and paste that right into our box. Like so. And now what we want to do is start stylizing this. We're going to center it. We're going to choose a different font, and we'll pop it up just a bit, and we're going to choose a different color, and so on. And we can also save this as a character style, and we'll just call this footer text. And so now what happens is, since we put this in our master page, it's going to appear on every one of our pages automatically, because the master page, as you can see, is stylizing each one of our pages. So if we go ahead and hit preview, this is our master preview, and we click on home. And here's our home. There's our footer text. We click on about our services. There's our footer text there. We click on our sample menu, and there's our footer text there. And we click on our contact, and there's our contact page along with our footer text. So that's essentially a basic website that we produced in Muse. The next thing we want to do is we want to get our website uploaded to the web, and there's a couple ways that we can do that. So the first way we can publish our finished website is we can actually use the Adobe Business Catalyst system that is built into the Muse program, and we just click on publish, and we'll be met with a screen that asks us to log in, which I've already done in this example. And now it's going to ask me if I want to create a new trial site, which is what I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and hit next, and it's going to ask me for the site name. In this case, I'm just going to call it what I've called this fictitious site, and I'm going to tell it it's in the United States. I'll give it a time zone, and then it's asking me for what the starting address will be, and also what the data center is, and that's essentially where the information will be hosted. And that, of course, I'm a representative of the site. So now I'll go ahead and add all that information in. And now Muse is actually contacting Business Catalyst and beginning to create a trial site that it will then take my design and begin uploading that to my trial site. I just hit next, and the magic is happening. It's writing all the jQuery, it's writing the code, it's exporting the images out, and it's giving me a progress, showing me exactly where I'm at. Now if I were to make changes to my website, what Muse will automatically do is it won't upload the site, the whole entire site every time. It will just upload those changes. So as I'm ready to go, and if I just make a quick change, it will automatically just do those quick changes for me. So it's almost done here. 99%. And now I can view my site. So if I go ahead and click view, what will happen is Muse will now start building out my site, and this is the live site that's exactly on the web right now. And essentially it looks very similar to what it looked like when we were looking at it on the Muse demo. And click on the sample menu, and it's going through, it's building all these different pages for me. Click on the contact, it's building out my contact page. So I'm good to go. Now another way that I can also publish this website is, rather than using the Business Catalyst platform, I can go ahead and just do an export, and I can export this site. So now it's going to ask me where I want to put this. In this case, we'll just go ahead and choose the default and go to the desktop. We'll create a new folder and call this Dish Up Export. Select it and say export. And same kind of thing, Muse will go in and export all the contents out, just similar to how it did by me creating the site on Business Catalyst. Again, I can go do a view site, and now it's basically reading this now off of my local drive. And you can see over here I created that folder, and here is all of my code that Muse created for me. I didn't have to write any of the code. It's put my graphics in the right place, it's created my CSS for me, and it's good to go. All I would need to do now is just take this contents of this folder and use an FTP program and then upload that to whatever site host I would like to host it on. So there you go. That's pretty straightforward. That's a basic designing a simple website in Adobe Muse. Thank you.